Okay, hi guys, welcome. Here's your HMH Lesson 9. I think this is Lesson 9. Yeah, okay, moving on. Yeah, week 2, Lesson 9. Okay, anyway, moving on. So we are mainly focusing on synthesizing. We're going to read the story today, Gingerbread for Liberty. Before we read the story, we are going to talk about synthesize. So who can raise their hand and tell me, what does it mean to synthesize? Crickets. Nobody. When you synthesize, oh no, I'm so sorry. When I am talking and you have something to say, what do? Thank you. Raise your hand for permission to speak. All right. When you synthesize, you put together information from different parts of the story or text to see authors' ideas in new ways. So we have important ideas, 4 puzzle pieces. You put it together and then you get the big idea. So what does it all mean to me? So to synthesize is when you put together information to get the big idea. All right. So we're reading Gingerbread for Liberty. This is a biography. Biographies tell about real people's lives. As you read Gingerbread for Liberty, we're going to look for information about why this person is important, the place where the person lived, worked, or traveled, ways the person had made a difference. So we have power words: booming, skill, threatening, persuade. Booming is the first one. Who thinks they know what booming means? Tut. Good. Maybe something that is loud. Booming is loud like thunder. Very good. The fireworks made a booming sound. What about the next one? Dominic. Skill. Very good. When you're good at something. If you have a great skill at something, you do it really well. The baker decorated the cake with skill. The baker decorated the cake very well. How about this word? Threatening. Who knows what threatening means? Dustin. No? Look at the picture. What's happening in the picture? Jacob Haney, what's happening? Good. The skunk looks scared because this bigger animal is threatening. So threatening might mean when you do something that's warning that they will do. So people who are threatening to do something are warning they will do it. So I'm warning that I'm going to do it, right? A hissing skunk is threatening to spray the bear cub if it comes closer. It's threatening. All right, persuade. Ooh, this happens to me a lot. I have a baby at home. What does persuade mean? Anybody? Amaria. Remember? How about, remember author's purpose? Pi. The P is for persuade. What does persuade mean, Jacob?
What to do it?
No. Leah? To what? No. Persuade is trying to get somebody to do it. You're trying to get somebody to buy you candy every day. You're trying to get somebody to do whatever. You're persuading them. In this picture, mom is persuading the baby to eat his food or her food. All right? She tried to persuade the baby to eat. When you persuade, you try to get others to feel or think the same as you do. All right, so moving on. Those are our 4 words. We will read to find out the most important ideas in the part, then synthesize or put together these ideas in your mind to find out what they really mean. So let's meet Mara Rockcliffe. She is the author.
One day, Mara Rockcliffe was reading about food in an old magazine. She found a story about a baker who lived during the Revolutionary War. She thought kids would enjoy reading about him. That gave her the idea to write Gingerbread for Liberty. Mara Rockcliffe has written many other books. What is her favorite thing about being a writer? She gets to work at home in her pajamas.
Ha ha ha. Okay, so when you synthesize, again, you're putting together important ideas to get the big picture, what it all means to me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this paper out. It looks like this. It says synthesize on it. Where is it? Where is it? There you are. No, that's not it. There you are. All right, I'm going to pass this out, and then we're going to fill this out as we read the story. My onliners, you should have this paper. I think I gave it to you during the last pickup. If you don't, I'll attach it on the, or you can just write it in your notebook. Write it in your reading notebook, okay? All right. Okay, so go ahead, my onliners, if you're going to just copy this down inside of your reading notebook, which I suggest you do. Go ahead and write synthesize at the top and then write the title of the story. If you're in class, you need to write the title of the story at the top of your paper. The title of the story is Gingerbread for Liberty. Go ahead and write that down under title, please. As we are reading, we're going to write the most important things about the story, and then we're going to put those together to write in our own words what it means to me. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and get started.
Gingerbread for Liberty by Mara Rockcliffe, illustrated by Vincent X. Kirsch. Everyone in Philadelphia knew the gingerbread baker, his honest face, his booming laugh, and of course, his gingerbread, the best in all the 13 colonies. His big flowery hands turned out castles and queens, horses and cows and hens, each detail drawn in sweet, buttery icing with the greatest skill and care. And yet, despite his care, there always seemed to be some broken pieces for the hungry children who followed their noses to the spicy-smelling shop. "No empty bellies here," the baker bellowed. "Not in my America."
So he always left pieces for the children that didn't have enough to eat, right?
For once upon a time, he had been young and hungry too, and he had followed his own nose to this new world, where a hard-working young man could open his own bakery and always have enough to eat. But now, something was in the air, besides the smell of baking gingerbread. Newspapers shouted, "Revolution! Independence! Liberty!" Boys rolled up blankets, shouldered guns, and kissed mothers goodbye. The baker hung his apron up. He dusted flour off his hands. "Where are you going?" asked his wife. "To fight for my America," he said. "I was a soldier once." "That was long ago and far away," she said. "You are a baker now, and you are old and fat."
All right. So where does he want to go? What does he want to do? Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. What is he talking about here on this page? He says, "For once upon a time, he had been a young and hungry too." So was he always wealthy? Did he always have his bakery and he had a lot to eat all the time? No. At one time, he was young and he was always hungry. He was probably poor. He had followed his own nose to the new world, which was America. That's where a hard-working young man could open his own bakery and have enough to eat. So he had to work up. He worked hard to make enough money to make a bakery, or to work in a bakery, to buy the business and work in it and have his own business. But now something was in the air besides the smell of baking gingerbread. What was coming up? Why were they kissing their mothers goodbye? Why were the soldiers getting ready? What do soldiers get ready to do? Go to war. Very good. So here on your paper synthesize, one of the most important things about the story is what? That they are going to war to fight for what? For America. Very good. So going, or they are going to war to fight for America. All right, moving on.
The baker knew his wife was right, but he knew also that he loved his country. Somehow, he had to find a way to help.
So he had to find a way to help. What did he want to do? He wanted to go to war with all the rest of the soldiers. What did his wife advise him? She said, oh yeah, buddy, that's a good idea, go. Or what else did she say? What did she say? She said, you already went to war at one point. Now you are old and fat. Look in the picture. Look in the picture. Does he look like he's going to be a good warrior? No, he's probably going to be a lot older and weaker or slower than the rest. Let's read.
He packed his bags and went to join General Washington. The men are threatening to leave. They say the food is terrible, and there isn't enough of it. General Washington did not say the baker was old and fat. General Washington was too polite. Anyway, he had other troubles on his mind.
So he didn't say what his wife said because he was polite, right? But he probably felt that way. But he didn't say anything because he was too busy. He had too much on his mind. All right. What was the general's name? Washington. Good job.
The baker rolled up his sleeves. No empty bellies here, he told General Washington. Not in my America. But bigger trouble was on the way.
Bigger trouble was on the way. Do you think that General Washington really cared about what they ate? No, he had way bigger things on his mind. He could care less what they ate. But the soldiers didn't like what they ate. They didn't like being there. Half of them wanted to leave and not fight because the food was terrible and they were always hungry. So how did the baker try to solve this problem? He said, I probably can't fight anymore. I'm too old and fat, but what can I do? Everybody, what? Bake. He can bake. He can help by making better food.
Across the ocean, Your Majesty, those Americans think they can beat your redcoats. Ha 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 ha! What if they're right? Ha ha ha! Huh? The King of England wrote to other rulers and hired their armies to help him squash the revolution.
Uh-oh.
When the ships sailed into sight, even General Washington turned pale. Who had ever seen such an army? Not me. Not me. Definitely not me. I have. When the ships sailed into...
Who has seen such an army? Dustin? The fat baker, because remember he went to war at one point and he saw a lot of armies fighting. So do you think he has good insight? Good. He has, good ideas and stuff he could share with them. So the baker has good ideas, right, that he could share with the soldiers to help. So let's write that down. The baker has good ideas. The baker has good ideas that can help. That can help.
These soldiers came from the land where I was born, the baker told General Washington. Let me go speak to them. Perhaps I can persuade them we are not their enemies. Perhaps I can even persuade them to switch sides. If you are caught, you will be killed, Washington warned. The baker smiled. Then I must not be caught in the...
Then he must not be caught. The baker was very brave, right? Yeah, if they caught him, they would definitely kill him. They're not going to try to listen to him. he has to try to disguise and be careful and speak to the general of their group without anybody knowing who he is, right? Or they're going to kill him.
Darkest hour of the night, he rowed across the bay. With each dip of his oars, he thought of words to win the soldiers over to the American cause. Revolution, splash. Befreiung. Independence, splash. Unabhängigkeit. Liberty, splash, splash. Freiheit.
So what are these words that are on the bottom? Remember he said he can speak their language, right? So this is probably how they say revolution in their language, right? How they say independence in their language. How they say liberty in their language. All right, let's keep going.
But when he looked into their hungry faces, all his fine words slipped away. What could he say? I have a bake shop, he began. As the baker spoke, the soldiers seemed to see the fragrant steam rising from his ovens. They could almost smell the spicy gingerbread and taste the sweet, buttery icing on their tongues. And you always have enough to eat? The soldiers asked. No empty bellies here, the baker told them. Not in my America.
Look at the faces of the
Across
soldiers.
the ocean.
Sorry.
But when he looked into their
Sorry. Look at the soldiers' faces. Do they look happy? Yeah, like, hey, maybe we should listen to this guy. Maybe he could feed us. We're starving.
Your Majesty, we just don't understand. These hired armies seem to disappear. Many low...
Who are they talking to? Dustin? To the general, not General Washington, to the general of the other team, right? And he says, we just don't understand. The armies are disappearing. Where do you think they're going?
To America.
Very good. So the baker can make them food, right?
moves and battles later. The British have surrendered. The revolution is over. We won. My work is done, the baker cried. Washington said, not quite.
So they're fighting with the British, and this is the king of Britain, and he's like, oh my gosh, where did they disappear to? And they all went to America to have some food, right? So he thinks, the baker thinks that the war is done. Let's see what happens.
Did he bake the British soldiers gingerbread for their dessert? We'll never know. They didn't leave a crumb. A gift from General Washington and his baker.
Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out the last part. So they are going to war to fight for America. The baker has good ideas that can help. And then what happens? The British soldiers disappear, right? And the war is over. So let's write that down. The British soldiers disappear and the war is over. The British soldiers, what happened to them? Very good. The British soldiers have disappeared and the war is now over. All right, so we talked about, So we went ahead and talked about the things that happened, and now you're going to write here in this box what it all means to me. The last thing we wrote was the British soldiers have disappeared and the war is now over. So what does this all mean to me? What do you guys think? What's the big picture here? What happened? The baker did what, Dustin? What did he help do? Mariah. Good. The baker helped he didn't help the British. Well, he did. He kind of helped both. Who can help me put this together? What happened? What's the story about? Who can tell me? Leia? Very good. How the baker helped the General Washington win the war against the British, right? How did he do that? By what? By baking yummy bread or food, right? Just he was baking yummy pastries or food. So that's what you're going to write there. Am I going to write that by myself? Yes, you are. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure you do that. That's basically it. So you're going to write what the story was about, what it all means to me. They are going to war to fight a fight. Who's going to war? The Americans. The Americans are going to war with the British. And the baker helps them win the war by baking pastries for them to eat. Okay. All right, guys. Go ahead and finish this up, and that's all you're doing today. I'll see you later. Bye.